I'm GREN MAJU, and this is my life.
Banish for Gizmek. Activate Desire.
Come on. It's a curse. Being so strong.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. Well, now that the single new combo deck is out of the way, it's time to return to an old TMT standard. Blind second super poly decks that require a single brain cell to play. Thanks to last week's YCS, we've got just the thing, presenting Golden Castle GREN Maju. So here's the list, and oh lord, welcome to Chonk City! As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. So firstly, for those of you that don't know, GREN MAJU de Eiza is a ridiculous card. It's one of those obscene build-arounds that really rattles the jank in your tank. In recent years, however, our red rapscallion has transitioned from a tempting tech in decks that incidentally play macro effects to an interesting inclusion alongside the introduction of very specific draw spells and engines. One person in particular, Yishan McNabb, seems to have figured out gigantic GREN Turbo, netting top finishes at YCS Pasadena, SD Regionals, and most recently, YCS Portland, where you might be surprised to learn he got second place with this exact list. For a build that largely looks like it was assembled 10 minutes before the event with whatever the vendors had on hand, it performed. So let's see if we can divine meaning from these card choices. There are three main components to this strategy: the Banish Boys, the Danger Donguses, and the Castle Crew. Now, the Banish-oriented cards are self-explanatory. Gizmek has proven itself to be a powerful option for decks that aim to go second, or even decks that go first and need to pop some pernicious pests on the draw. Eater of Millions is a clean way to out Orcists, and even though we live in a post-extravagance world, let's not lose sight of the fact that Pot of Desires is still basically just Pot of Greed. The dangers are similarly simple. The 8 package facilitates OTKs on the draw, rank 8 setups on the play, and conveniently pops cards on the field going second even if you miss. Finally, the Castle Crew facilitates both rank 8 plays and OTKs with Hextrude, and it is endlessly searchable with Terraformings 2 through 4, which, they have for some reason. In theory, it should perform like a well-oiled machine with 3 complementary engines thrumming together. In practice, it'll probably just open Super Poly or perish. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, we're on 6 dangers, and unlike what you usually hear after those words, it's 3 Thunderbird and 3 Feet Pick Golem. After that are our Castellians, 3 Gilfa the Phantom Bird, and 2 Hextrude. You really don't want a Banisher, and you do a lot of banishing. Next are the 3 Banish Addict and his problematic enabler squad, 3 Eater of Millions, and 3 of the glue that keeps the deck together, Gizmek. Finally, we're on 2 Pankratops. It doesn't make rank 8s, it doesn't banish, but it is the best going second card ever printed since Super Poly. After that are the spells: 3 Desires, 3 Trade-In, for which we've got 11 targets, 1 Terraforming for 3 Golden Castle of Stromberg, 1 Foolish, 1 Reborn, 3 Called by the Grave, and 3... this is weird. They let a card that wins the game when activated go to 3? Awkward. In the extra, we've got poly targets of Violet Chimera, Starving Venom, and Mud Dragon, followed by rank 8s of Cypher Blade, Full Armor, Normie Cypher, Zombie Stein, Hope Harbinger, Dingarisu, Sanafond, and Nightmare's Unicorn, Phoenix Cerberus, Mermaid, and Barricade Board Blocker. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Cosmo, a deck that, with the Dark Hole unhit, I think is it stronger than Full Power? It's still not accomplishing anything, so it needs more support. Konami, you haven't printed a Munchkin, you haven't printed a Yoda. There's your Link monster. That one's free. We are going second, as we aim to do every game. Let's see how hard our opponents can pop off. They're going to lead with a copy of Reasoning. We call 1, expecting Decatron. Unfortunately, they hit a Slip Rider off of it. They'll set 2 Dark Hole to go into Tin Can and end their turn. You do what you gotta do to end on Tin Can. Of course, the Dark Destroyer ends up in the hand and they'll pass it back. For turn we draw Gizmek. We're going to lead with a copy of Gilfa, then activate Golden Castle of Stromberg. This prompts a Dragonstorm return from our opponent. That's very interesting. I like it. They're going to pop our field spell. We'll go for Thunderbird. We hit it. We'll activate Pot of Desires. We'll activate Trade-In. They'll call by the grave our Gizmek. We can chain the Gizmek, so we will do just that. It's special summoned to the board. Afterwards, we're going to activate a second Trade-In. They're going to Tin Can in response to go into Dark Destroyer, but unfortunately, we draw a Super Polymerization, meaning we'll be able to activate it in response to the effect of Dark Destroyer, and they'll concede. Our second match is up against Lair Infernoid. Now, Lair of Darkness is a bit of a blessing and a curse for this deck. It's a curse insofar as it's a removal spell for our normal summoned game winners, but it's a blessing insofar as it turns our opponent's disadvantageous attribute into fodder for Starving Venom. Unfortunately, our opponent hasn't drawn Lair, they've drawn a Void Vanishment. Let's see if we can play through Feast. They're going to lead with a copy of Void Vanishment, discarding a copy of Seismitas for a Feast. They'll set it and an Infinite Impermanence before passing it back to us. We draw a second GREN Maju. They're so bad in multiples. They're going to activate both copies of Decatron to send Uncle Anonku and Daddy Deviati to graveyard. Afterwards, we'll activate Pot of Desires. That'll fetch one of the two Decatrons. We're going to special summon a copy of Eater of Millions and go to Battle Step. We'll attack into this copy of Decatron, they'll activate Infinite Impermanence, and we will begrudgingly take 200 points of damage before setting a Super Poly. They'll then go into a copy of Nightmare Cerberus, destroy our copy of Eater, and special summon a Deviati, wiping our spell and trap zone, and after seeing that Super Polymerization, you can bet they're not activating Lair. We draw a Gizmek for turn, which is lethal. We'll activate Gizmek's effect, then we'll activate the effect of Eater of Millions to banish the remainder of our extra before normal summoning a GREN Maju, and I wanted to attack! Come on! So, it's time for Game 3, and you know what that means, a best-of-3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Orchist, but it's the going second variant, which means they've forced us onto the play. Our deck is ill-equipped to go first. Let's see how we deal with it. We're going to lead with a copy of Trade-In, discarding our copy of Gizmek. We'll then activate the Grave effect of Gizmek to special summon himself, and the effect of Golden Castle of Stromberg for a Hextrude. We'll overlay for a Xenophon to set a copy of Super Polymerization and pass it back to our opponent. Locking the graveyard seems like a convincing setup. They're going to lead with an Instant Fusion, sucking our Xenophon, but the damage is already done. They'll follow that up with the effect of Harp Horror for a Nightmare and a Link Summon of Galatea. They'll shuffle the Harp Horror, but drawn all your targets, have ya? Boy, have I been there. They're going to overlay for Dingarisu, send our copy of Golden Castle, God, someone finally read it, and then pass it back. We draw Super Polymerization, we're going to lead with a copy of Gizmek, then activate the Super Poly we have set for Starving Venom. They're going to activate Orcus Nightmare. Sending a Gizmek? You can do that? Oh, that's so strong. They're going to bring it back to prevent taking any damage from Gilfo. We're going to set a Super Polymerization with no targets and hope for the best. Our opponent draws a Symbol Skeleton. They're going to activate the effect of Gizmek. Our effect of Starving Venom will wipe their board, but they can normal summon the skeleton, special summon a Destrudo, and go into Yazi. You all know where this is going. They're going to destroy our set copy of Super Polymerization, closing the door on our chances of victory before activating Mari's effect 3 times. Wow, that third token is in attack position. I wonder why. Afterwards, they're going to activate Link Rebo and go to battle phase. They'll attack into our copy of Gilfa, switch their token to defense position. I think we probably have to activate Gizmek here, and we take 300 in the process. For turn, we do draw a removal spell. We'll activate Trade-In, discarding a copy of Bigfoot and destroying our opponent's copy of Boral Sword, but Pot of Desires looking pretty bad with 4 cards in deck. We'll go into a copy of Eater of Millions, but we can't even banish the defense position token, and we're dead to the Gizmek. Well, it's time for Game 2, and this time we are going second. Our opponent's hand looks good, but it doesn't look Beta Super Polymerization good. They're going to lead by normal summoning a copy of Harp Horror. They'll activate the effect of Jackalope, American Sniper, before going into Nessie and Link summoning a Galatea. They'll use Harp Horror for a Symbol Skeleton. They'll go into Longarisu, then use Symbol Skeleton to bring back Galatea, setting a copy of Orcus Crescendo. Things are looking quite good based on our hand. We're going to lead with a copy of Super Polymerization, wiping our opponent's board for Starving Venom, and wee-oo. Oh no, that can only mean one thing! Chongus, alert. Big chonkers, incoming. So it's time for Game 3, and damn it, we have to go first. Alright, let's see if we can get it done. We're going to lead with a copy of Pot of Desires, finding off the top, you guessed it, a second Pot of Desires, and a Thunderbird that our opponent snipes. After that, we're going to Stromberg out of Hextrude, special summon a copy of Gizmek, and overlay for Xenophon. We should be good until next turn, when GREN Maju can take us home. Our opponent's going to special summon a copy of Pankratops, then Instant Fusion for Thousand Eyes, sucking our Xenophon. They'll then normal summon a copy of Armageddon Knight to send to Gizmek, before Link summoning a copy of Nightmare Phoenix, destroying our copy of Stromberg, and going into Mermaid. After that, they're going to Link summon a copy of Galatea, use Nightmare's effect on this copy of Pankratops, and wee-oo! Wait, no way. No way. We are not dead through Xenophon. Are you kidding me? Well, the chonk giveth and the chonk taketh away. So we're back with the deck and, you know, this might have legs, as much as it pains me to say it. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's got game against a significant portion of the field. It does enough drawing that any deck weak to Super Polymerization is likely to see it over the course of the match, and right now, that's most of them. 2, unlike previous iterations of the deck, it can actually win without seeing GREN Maju. In the past, without the Beefy Banishmonger, you had trouble punching through without relying on over-banishing for Eater, but you're more than capable of stealing games with Hextrude pops and doming your opponents with dangers. And 3, Gizmek was the missing piece. It ties the entire strategy together. It's removal, it's banished cards off the top, it's a recurable threat, it's fuel for rank 8s. I cannot overstate how powerful this card is, or the incredibly powerful positions it enables. And the cons. 1. Unfortunately, not every deck loses to super polymerization. Striker, for instance, will have a reasonably easy time against this list, especially if they're allowed to go first and resolve a multi-roll uninterrupted. 2. It's extremely feast or famine. While it has an easy time recurring Gizmek, say once, by the second time you're likely out of cards in deck. Staring down double desires with a 3-card deck is about as miserable as it gets. And 3. This deck is completely incapable of going first. In our best of 3, we resolved the effect of Sanafond against Orchist twice and lost. A rank 8 might be good for cleaning up sticky Salamangrates with Cypher, but if you pass on one Xyz monster, you are asking to get OTK'd. All in all, it's actually a pretty competent deck with a high skill floor and a high enough skill ceiling. I think it's a reasonable introduction for anyone looking to return to Yu-Gi-Oh!, and clearly in the right hands it will reap rewards. Plus, sometimes your opponents don't read Golden Castle and just walk into Mirror Force. So that's that. While I appreciate all of my viewers, a special thanks to my patrons, especially Michael Salmior, Distrin, Lucas Geardis, Adam Trevino, Second, Lieutenant Labcoat, Meatmoto27, Adrian Bra, Adam Sunquist, Isaac Jackson, and Donnie Fillerup. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/mbtygo every Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.